Can you tell us your name and which neighborhood you live in?
My name is John Reimann, and I live in the neighborhood that used to be known as Funktown, which is named after a drug gang that was very prominent in Oakland.
And what made you decide to run for mayor?
Well, you know, the problems that we face in Oakland are part of the wider political issues that we face in the United States and really globally. And we have two train wrecks headed our way. One is the potential for the Republican MAGA-ist racist party to seize complete control at the federal level. And the other is the disaster of global warming. And any talk about trying to change this, that, or the other here in Oakland without taking that into account and without having a program and a strategy to combat that is really just shuffling around the lounge chairs on the deck of the Titanic. And what we need is the voice of the working class and a campaign for a workers' party and for socialism to be injected into this race. Otherwise, you know, we're all headed for disaster.
So after interviewing Oakland residents, I found that public safety was the top concern for most people I spoke with. Can you briefly describe your plan of action for public safety and policing?
Well, by public safety, I assume you're talking about like crime and violence.
Yeah.
And you can't see that in the abstract. Those problems stem from two main sources. The first is poverty. And I campaign for a $28 an hour minimum wage and guaranteed jobs for all. And the second is the general level of violence that we see in American society, which is enormously increased by the fascist-connected Republicans. And what we need is a working-class movement that will bring a sense of solidarity. You know, during the Oakland General Strike of 1946, the police reported that there was no crime in Oakland. That's what I'm talking about, and that's what we have to build. And all the other candidates talk about really, in essence, a cop on every corner. It's just Fortress Oakland and Fortress America. And that is a disaster for working class people in Oakland and globally.
Can you also briefly describe your plan of action for addressing homelessness?
So, in the first place, $28 an hour minimum wage. In the second place, public housing. And we have to admit that the housing for profit is just as much of a disaster as healthcare for profit. And we need a crash program to build public housing on a mass scale. And also, you know, there's hundreds of vacant buildings in Oakland, mainly commercial. And we need, through a movement to demand it, we need to build a movement to establish eminent domain over those vacant buildings to provide some place for the people that are living in the streets for them to live.
Decisions the next mayor makes about a new Oakland A's stadium will have a huge impact on Oakland's economy in the coming decades. What will you prioritize when making decisions about the Howard Terminal development?
Well, I'm glad that you asked that, because it almost never gets asked and almost never gets addressed by the candidates, because it serves no interest of Oakland's working class people. The Howard Terminal program development is a job killer. It's a gentrifier. It will enormously exacerbate the traffic problems. And it's a massive privatization scheme. And it will bring this right-wing privatizer real estate developer, John Fisher, right into the heart of Oakland politics. So my plans are, as they are for right now, is to build a movement to kill it dead in its tracks. None of the other candidates oppose it.
How have your past experiences prepared you to lead Oakland as our mayor?
So that goes way back to as a teenager when I was part of the civil rights movement. And up until all my work life, I was a union member. I always was active in my union and fought to make the union fight for its, not only its own members, but for all workers. Also, I've been involved in all kinds of, like the Black Lives Matter movement, Occupy Oakland. Also, I was in Ferguson shortly after Michael Brown was killed. I was in West Virginia during the teachers' strike. And also, I've traveled internationally. I was in Egypt during the Arab Spring. I visited the workers' movement in Pakistan. I went to Chile during the uprising there a couple of years ago. So it's that experience that makes me uniquely qualified to help build the working class movement here in Oakland.
And is there anything I didn't ask that you'd like Oaklanders to know?
Well, I am not the vote for me and I'll set you free candidate. And any candidate that pretends that they can resolve the problems for working class people and working class youth in Oakland is either naive or is hoping that that the voters are naive. All change comes from a movement from below. And that's what we saw in the civil rights movement, that's what we've seen in the labor movement, and so on. And so my candidacy is all about encouraging and helping to build such a movement and helping to broaden and deepen the understanding of working class people as far as the general scope of the problems we face and why we need socialism and a working class party.
All right, thank you so much. To close, can you recommend a local restaurant that you wish more people knew about?
No, that's the kind of thing that, you know, as I said, I think that's the kind of thing that kind of trivializes politics. And so I don't want to get into that sort of thing.
All right, that's fine. Thank you so much.
Okay. So, dogs, what did you think? Huh? You gonna vote for me? You know, 4 years ago,